Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber with Helping the Good People here in Tucson. How you doing today? Welcome to all my new subscribers, to all the ones that are coming back. Welcome back. Thank you for all your love and your support over these last 5 or so years of doing videos. Forgive me in advance if I have slow speech. It's just I've been dealing with a migraine for the last 15 hours. And for those of you guys that have migraines, I definitely feel for you. I get what are called cluster headaches. They're only known in 10% of women. And for some reason, in 1996, I was in a bad car accident. And before that, I had grandma epilepsy seizures for 4 years. And when the accident happened, I basically traded one for the other. To this day, I still don't understand what happened to my head when I hit my head, on why these migraines are still here. I get them 3 months out of the year. I used to get them during the summer when the heat was really bad for 3 months, and then they would go away. Over the last few years, they've traded seasons, and they went from the summertime to like September. Last year it was November. This year, it's December, January. I used to think it was just the heat. So I'm starting to wonder if there's something else going on with the planet or something in the seasons. Or, again, this is just a seasonal thing. So thank you guys for bearing with me. Today, I want to talk about suffering. I want to talk about adversity and how that makes you stronger. I'm going to start off by reading 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 1:3. It's about the God of all comfort. And it relates to the topic that I want to talk about. So it's a combination of the Bible and my book, The Upside of Stress. Let me show you guys. Okay. I've done videos on this before talking about how stress is good for you and how you can use your stress in a positive light. So that is the book that I'm going to be reading from. I spent all day yesterday just reading and kind of updating myself on some things that I'm going through. And it's kind of funny how I opened right up to what I needed. And that was about how adversity can make you stronger. So please bear with me. I hope that you stay till the end. And please like, subscribe, and share if you wish. Okay? I'm going to start off by reading 2 Corinthians. All right? So, praise be to God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. For just as the sufferings of Christ flow over into our lives, so also through Christ our comfort overflows. If we are distressed, it is for your comfort and salvation. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you patient endurance of the same sufferings we suffered. And our hope for you is firm, because we know that just as you share in our sufferings, so also you share in our comfort. Isn't that beautiful? We do not want you to be uninformed, brothers, about the hardships we suffered in the province of Asia. We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired even of life. Indeed, in our hearts we felt the sentence of death. But this happened that we may not rely on ourselves, but on God, who raised the dead. He has delivered us from such deadly peril, and he will help us by your prayers. Then many will give thanks on our behalf for the gracious favor we granted us in answer to the prayers of many. So keep in mind and always pray for all the Lord's people. That just came to me right now, Ephesians. So in other words, give thanks for the suffering, and also, comfort those who are suffering. It's a give and receive. It's a yin and yang, back and forth kind of thing. So that is from my Bible here. I love this book. So I have my notes here in front of me, just so you guys know. I'm going to try to breeze through this as best I can, because I really think that this topic needs to be talked about. The reason why I brought it up also is because right now I'm going through a transition. I am leaving one lifestyle and moving into a new one. And even though it's a little scary because I've never done anything like this before, I'm also relying on my past and how I was able to get through adversity before. Now, I want to start off by asking you guys to identify a time in your life that was a period of significant personal growth, okay? A turning point that led to positive changes or newly found purpose. That is what the basis of this is identifying a time in your life when things seemed out of your control, or things in your life changed so dramatically that it put you in a state of shock or panic. So, would you describe this time as stressful? Growing through adversity, it's in the difficult times that give rise to growth. So for those of you guys that are going through something right now and you don't think that you have a way out, just look at this and give yourself permission to allow yourself to see something good in it. That is the secret of the upside of stress. A lot of us don't realize that just by speaking it in a positive light, or saying, I accept everything that's going on, that is what gives hope to change. That's what gives hope in times of adversity. I hope that makes sense. Science supports the notion. Have you ever heard of that? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Well, it turns out that science approved that does support the notion, What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Here it says 82% of people say that their biggest sources of stress in their lives are given their strength and developed from past stressful experiences. In other words, today, as you sit, going through something hard, that because of something that you went through in the past that was very similar or close to, it is something to rely on how to get through it now. So if you look back at the past and you look back at what you endured at that time, what were some of the resources that you fell back on? What were some of the attitudes that you gave? How do I do this? It's very difficult to talk about this topic and read from my notes, What I do know is that when we rely on our past experiences, it can help guide us to where we need to go from here. Adversity can create resilience, and trauma often inspires personal growth. To find courage to grow from stress, you need to believe that something good can come from your suffering. See? You need to believe it. Some situations, even the most difficult, you may not see the upside of stress. So even though you don't see it, it is there. There is something positive from it. And it does inspire growth, but you have to believe it. You have to believe that the change that you're seeking, the suffering you're going through, there is a purpose and a reason for it. Sometimes we just don't see it. The growth mindset, one that recognizes the natural human capacity to grow during stress. It's natural. What you're going through is natural. Just know that. All I know is that by telling stories and hearing other people's stories, definitely helps you see positive meaning in your own suffering. it's a good thing to go out and seek other people who you think could understand you or to guide you or to give you advice. It's probably one of the smartest things that you could probably do in your own suffering. Don't isolate. Don't shut down the world. Don't give up. First thing is to believe that there is something good. All right? The good that comes from difficult experiences isn't from the traumatic or stressful situation. It comes from you. The strengths that are awakened by adversity and from the natural human capacity to transform suffering into meaning. We must embrace stress by trusting our capacity even when the pain is fresh and the future is uncertain. We have to trust ourselves. Right now, I'm planning a big move, and I'm planning to leave everything behind, including my family, which has been the hardest thing to accept. For years I've stayed in Tucson to be with my family, to try to protect them, to, encourage and uplift them, and to make sure that they were safe and happy. And over the last 6 years, alone, no matter what I've done in the courts, no matter what I've done, to try to protect my family, it just still boils down to the fact that nothing has worked. And no matter how difficult and traumatic that is for me, I have finally accepted what I need for myself. For those of you guys that don't know, I get 2 days a month with my family. I get to talk to them barely 2 days a week on the phone as well. So you can imagine how I'm sitting here alone all the time and feeling like I'm not a mother and feeling like there's got to be more to life than just sitting here waiting for something to change. My suffering has gotten so bad dealing with my family that has overtaken my spirit and in my heart of hearts. No matter how much I love my family, they're 13 and 15 years old now. They're making decisions on their own. They're happy and healthy, and they know what they want. So even though I'm having this adversity and this suffering with my family, I'm looking at the upside of it. The upside of the stress is to find safe placement for them while I go off and take care of me. It's a decision that I've made for myself. This world is so big, and I have been in Tucson since 1985. I haven't really done anything with my life, I have everything I've wanted to do, I've had to put on hold. I've had to put everything aside and take care of everyone else, and I forgot to take care of me. So that's why this topic of talking about adversity and how we got through it in the past will help us to push forward into the future. A person's past plays a central role. Mark Sear, publisher of a controversial paper titled "What Does Not Kill Us?", which challenged the widespread belief that traumatic events always increases the risk of depression, anxiety, and illness. Instead, he showed that a history of negative life events can actually protect us against these outcomes. Adversity can create resilience. So he had such a controversial paper written about it that people thought that they attacked him, basically saying that so victims of domestic violence or rape and trauma should always think that it's okay, that what they went through. And what he was trying to explain was no, that our mindset is what puts us there. Our mind tells us that our suffering will never go away. Our mind wants to tell us that there's no hope, okay? And that can cause anxiety. It's like people used to say, stress is going to kill you. I'm too stressed out. Well, that's because you think of it negatively. When one changes their point of view on stress and actually looks at the positives in it and actually can say, okay, I'm going to take this pain, I'm going to take this suffering, and I'm going to do something with it in a positive light, that changes your whole mindset. It makes you look at stress and your adversity in a whole different light. It gives you hope. So for those of you guys that are losing hope right now, stop what you're doing, look yourself in the mirror and say, I am not going to let this stressful situation, this event, this trauma take me down. I'm going to face it head on, and I will be successful. Just by telling yourself that stress is good for you changes the whole entire growth mindset. It really does. I know from experience about that because I've spent a lot of time talking to myself and telling myself that everything is going to be okay. But I also spent the last 20 so years reading self-help books, applying the tools that I learned in these self-help books, and even as simple as telling myself, I love you in the mirror, even if you didn't love yourself. Over time, it does help. Over time, you start to believe it, and you start to love yourself more. It's the same kind of concept that I'm talking about here. It's all in the mind. If you believe that you're going to die from stress, or you believe that you're not going to get out of it, then you're going to be stuck in that depressive state. So I'm asking you now to stop doing that to yourselves. Your suffering has meaning. It might help someone later. You know what I mean? I like to believe that our suffering is not our own, but it is our suffering that's going to help someone in the future. That is why I think we suffer the most, is because our suffering is going to help someone else in the future, because it's been there, done that. Does that make sense? I hope you guys are still with me. So, long-term effects of adversity. One possibility was from a direct and negative relationship. The more adverse events, the lower a person's well-being. People who had experienced a moderate level of adversity had the lowest risk of depression, the fewest physical health problems, and the greatest satisfaction with life. People at extremes, either with the lowest or highest levels of adversity, were more depressed, had more health problems, and were less satisfied with their lives. Okay, now get this. In fact, people with no trauma, people who have never suffered, okay, which is really weird, but people, in fact, with no trauma in their past are significantly less satisfied with their lives than people who've experienced the average number of traumatic events. In other words, people who've been through more trauma seem to be more stronger than the ones that have no trauma. Just reading that, I was just like, wow, it makes sense, because we build an endurance. We build a hard shell, you know what I mean, over ourselves. It's like a protective barrier, I like to think. So the more trauma that we've had and the more that we've gotten through it, the stronger we become. It's like we become numb to it. So therefore, we're able to see it in a different light. We're able to encourage and uplift and help others. Do you follow me? This video might shut off around 26 minutes. If I'm still talking, it'll go into a second video. So I really hope that you are listening and like this video, and that you're understanding where I'm coming from. I'm one to encourage and uplift others, I guess. And for me, this not only has helped me, but I hope that it's helping you. The consequences of a new traumatic event depend on a person's past. A history of adversity were less likely to become depressed or new health problems than those with limited experiences of adversity. People are not doomed to be damaged by adversity. In other words, we're not dead. We're not doomed. We're not considered worthless. We have a purpose, okay? 2 aspects of a resilience. How long can you withstand the pain And how much does it upset you? Those are 2 questions you need to ask yourself. How long can you withstand the pain, and how much does it really upset you? Catastrophizing the event with thoughts can not only make a difficult experience more distressing and makes one want to give up. Catastrophic thinking explains the relationship between a person's past adversity and his or her ability to tolerate pain. Going through something difficult makes you less likely to catastrophize, and that gives you greater strength. The more traumatic events show greater resilience. People report fewer symptoms of PTSD and report positive outcomes from the trauma, such as an increased appreciation for their lives. So, again, if it's a catastrophic event and you put it in your mind that you're never going to get better, you're never going to heal, then that right there will cause you PTSD. It'll cause you depression. But if you change that and say, how can I change my suffering? And put it in a positive light, using your past experiences, your past traumas, and how you got through it. That changes your whole outlook on your life. When life has tested your strength, you're more likely to know you can handle the next challenge, and your past experience can be a resource for coping. It is helpful to view your past experiences as resources to help you through your current crisis. Some people can look at the suffering as a breaking point. So I've been there. I've been at the breaking point before, wanting to give up and just go crazy and and I looked at it as my breaking point. But again, we have to look back at our past and say, we've been here before. We've been through this before. And we're still strong. We're still sitting here, aren't we? So remind yourself of that. You're strong. You've been through this before. You wouldn't be watching this video if you hadn't. And I'd like to think that you know that. How strong you are, how supported you are, and how loved you are. And if you don't know that, I'm telling you now. I love you, I appreciate you, and I support you. No matter what, if you need someone to talk to, you can message me. I'll leave my email below as well, so you can reach out to me for anything, for prayer, for support, for resource help, okay? Because that's what I do. I've been doing this a very long time, and I've always put myself out there as a resource. So, in case you forgot, I am here for you. Too often, we perceive setbacks as a signal to stop. We think something is wrong with us or our goals. This, in turn, triggers a vicious cycle of self-doubt and giving up. Setbacks are inevitable, and understanding that hitting an obstacle means you must draw on your resources. Setbacks and failures can be a catalyst for growth. So no matter what, your setbacks, your sufferings, is a catalyst for growth. In other words, if you're unhappy with something in your life right now, look at the past. Is there any relation to anything you went through in the past that's related to now? Whether it's your thinking, whether it's your diet, your exercise, your family, your friends, your support network. Were you open with communication? Were you seeking out help? I mean, where'd you go? What did you do? What were you thinking then? So setbacks and failures can be a catalyst for growth. And it's a vicious cycle of self-doubt and wanting to give up. That is what happens when we stay in our heads, when we allow the suffering in our own lives to win. That is the only way that I can put it. So thank you for letting me share that part. Another thing that has caused the suffering to continue has been an anticipating shame that you failed or feeling foolish for the event. It can weigh on you, you know. It weighs on a person's heart and soul if they feel shameful or if they've done something really wrong and they feel that they've deserved whatever they're going through. Nobody should have to feel that way. Because I'm going to remind you again, repentance, acceptance, acknowledging that you do have a problem, and giving your problems to God or your higher power, whatever. There is forgiveness in that. No matter what you've done in your life, no matter where you're sitting today, repent and ask for forgiveness. Nobody needs to know anything. You know, my son used to get shy and he would be like, well, I don't want to pray, Mom. People make fun of me. It's like, but you don't have to tell anybody that you're doing it. No matter what you're struggling with, I used to tell him, buddy, you can do it in secret. And actually, God likes that. They like it when you do it in secret. You know? So, again, anticipating shame that you failed or feeling foolish for the event can really weigh on you. So give yourself some credit. Give yourself some peace of mind. And accept that shameful part of you. Or feeling foolish for making a mistake or doing something stupid, you know. It's okay to admit it to yourself. Talking to someone and being honest of your mistakes and or your traumas can be hard to do. Some people want to just give up, quit, and hide away. I know how that feels because I've tried it before and it didn't work for me. Explaining what